friends, welcome back to Jwhackers. My name is Jessie. I am so excited to have you joining me today. If this is your first time here, I want to take a second to welcome you and ask that you click that subscribe button. I post new budgeting and lifestyle content here on my channel every single week. If that's the sort of thing you're interested in, you can subscribe. You can also click that little notification bell to get notified every time I post a new video. I'm excited to be coming at you today with my budget results for the first week in June. Can you guys believe it's already the second week in June? I'm excited to write up my budget for the new week and get going with tracking my spending and everything. But before I can do that, I need to look back at last week, see how I did, see if I stuck to my plan. So that's what today's video is going to be all about. So we are here in my big size Happy Planner disc bound system. So it is an 8.5 by 11 size planner. It has the metal discs, which I love because it's super sturdy. And inside that disc bound system, I have my calendar here, which comes from an Erin Condren monthly planner that I uncoiled and punched to work with this system. I love a disc bound system because I can easily take the pages out, move them around, add things in. It's very customizable and it works out great for me for that. But I also really love the Erin Condren quality paper and her designs and layouts. So I just uncoiled that big size Erin Condren monthly planner, the 8.5 by 11 size as I mentioned, and I just make it work with my disc bound system. So I get the best of both worlds, the cute Erin Condren designs and quality with the customization of the disc bound system that I love. I use the monthly calendar here to track all of my transactions, to keep track of my spending, using a combination of stickers here from Jennifer Ann Plans. That's these really super cute heading stickers here, and the transaction tracking stickers that I use with my color coding system I actually make for myself. It's really a simple process in my Silhouette studio. I use my Silhouette portrait to cut everything out, and it's just a really cool system to help me keep track of everything. I like to color code and categorize my spending so that I can stick to a very strict budget. It is my goal to have our credit cards paid off by the end of 2021. I'm hopeful that will still happen, even though we've had a couple of setbacks this year so far. All of these steps that I take every week are just to keep me on track to meet that goal of paying off our credit cards. My husband is a plumber. He's in the plumbing industry, working as a sewer and drain cleaner. He is our primary source of income. I am primarily a stay-at-home mom to our boys, even though our boys are pretty well grown up now. They're definitely not toddlers anymore. I have an 18-year-old son who is an adult still living at home, who has his own full-time job and manages his own finances. But he is still living here at home. And then I have our 13-year-old son, who obviously still needs me around the house. So that is a little bit of a rundown of our situation. Like I said, we are primarily a one-income family. My husband makes the bulk of the money. I do bring in a little bit of income here through my YouTube channel. So if you are watching this video, clicking the thumbs up button, leaving a comment, any of those things, you are helping support our debt-free journey. So thank you so much. All right, so in addition to my calendar layout here, I also use the Budget by Paycheck workbook pages from the Budget Mom. I have the printable version of her planner from 2019, and I consistently use a paycheck bill tracker from that workbook every single week, as well as a cash envelope breakdown page. I just print these out on 28-pound paper, punch them, and they can get included right here into my budget planner. It's a great system. So the combination of the calendar and my bill tracker here, we're going to figure out how closely I stuck to my budget last week. I wrote out this budget with you all in a previous video, which I will link in a card above in case you missed it. You can kind of hear me give my rundown of where all the money was going and why I decided to do it that way. But today we're going to find out how closely I actually stuck to my plan. So this budgeted column is the plan. The actual column is what actually shook out. So we're going to go ahead and actually pull this paycheck bill tracker right out of here and take it back here to my calendar so I can easily reference all of my spending for the week and get it written in. And this seems like it's the best way to go about this. So I am going to zoom you guys in a little bit, not too much, because I still want to get the planner in the frame. And the week we are looking at here is the week of June 1st through the 7th. So my husband is paid every single week, so we do a new paycheck budget every single week. And we're just going to be tracking our spending from payday to payday. Technically last week payday was pushed back a day to Wednesday because of the holiday on Monday, but we're going the 1st through the 7th. So we're not looking at any of these other transactions here. These orange stickers are future bills that we will have to pay, but those are for future Jessie to worry about. Currently, we're just working on these 7 days. So if you look at my budget here, you can see that the bills that fell within this week are listed here, as well as anything that I was going to be paying through my checking account. That's all listed here under bills. So the first bill that we had to tackle was my lot rent. We live in a mobile home, which we own free and clear. We paid it off last spring, but we don't own the little lot of land that it sits on. We live in a mobile home community. We rent the lot, and that is a cost of $527 each month, due to be paid on the 1st. So since that fell within this pay period, we handled that bill with this paycheck. So I budgeted $527, and if we look here at my transaction log, you can see that my bills are marked in orange. You can see my little key here. All of my bills are marked in orange, so we're looking at orange stickers, and we're looking on the 1st for my lot rent, which was $527. It's been checked off because that has been paid, and that is exactly what I budgeted, so that is right on track. So because I am right on track with this, I'm using my black pen. However, if I have a scenario where I'm over budget, if I spent more than what I planned to spend, I'll be writing that in a different color, and we're just going to use my little red Erin Condren marker here. I did finally find all of my stash of pens, so my red erasable pens are available to me. However, I left them out in my living room, and I don't want to pause this video to go and grab them, so we're just going to write anything that I'm over budget in this Erin Condren marker, and that'll be fine. I like to differentiate between when I am sticking to my budget versus when I'm over budget, just so that I can easily glance at my page and, you know, see where I could have some room for improvement on my budget. So next up here, we have the line item for my cable bill, and I budgeted $65 for that. That was also due on the 1st, so if you look here on the 1st, you can see it's checked off, it's been paid, and the amount that I actually paid was $62.44. I sincerely hope you guys can see that. I'm looking at it through an itty bitty teeny tiny little viewfinder, so I can't see it, but hopefully you can see it. So we budgeted $65, it only cost us $62.44, so that means, again, we are under budget, which is good news. Next up, we have my water bill, which was also due on the 1st, and for that, we budgeted $50. As you can see here, the water bill came in, and it was actually significantly less than what I expected, which is also good news. That came out at $38.03, so we are under budget there as well. Next up, we have my spending. We do a lot of our budgeting in cash, and you will see that when we get down here to this cash envelope section. You can see that my husband's spending money came out in cash. However, I've been keeping my spending money in the bank just because I tend to do more online transactions, and it's just easier to leave the money in the bank and account for it under my bills category here. So I budgeted $40 for my spending money. I track my spending money here on my calendar in this purple color because purple's my favorite color, so that just makes sense to me. And you can see here that for the week I had just one purple sticker. I sent $40 to my city card to cover a transaction that I made, and that was just as expected, so still writing in black ink. Next up we have gas. I budgeted $40 for gas. I drive a Subaru Forester. That's about what it costs to fill up my tank from empty, so that's what I like to budget every week, just so I can get a full tank of gas every week to do all of my errands and running around and whatnot. So I budgeted $40. Once again, we'll look here at my log or my key and see that gas is in this light purple color. So we'll just check this week for any light purple stickers, and you can see here on Monday the 7th, right at the end of our kind of budgeting week, I went ahead and filled up my gas tank, and it cost me $34. So that is what we spent this week. Again, under budget, which I love to see. It is always my goal to have a completely filled in page with all black ink. Doesn't always happen, but that's always the goal. Okay, and lastly for this bills category, we have my grocery budget. I budgeted $150, and as you can see here from my little key, grocery is done in this light pink. We had just one grocery transaction here on Wednesday, and that was exactly $150. I actually just took that $150 and paid it to the credit card that we use for groceries. Even though we are working really hard to pay off our credit cards, we do have some credit cards that we use and pay off every single month just because it's so much easier. Plus we reap the rewards. Lots and lots of credit cards offer, you know, points back and rewards and cash back and that sort of thing. So we use a Discover card to buy all of our groceries for the month. And it's not necessarily just $150 a week. Some weeks we might spend $400, and then the next week we spend $50, but it all evens out at the end of the month. And as long as we pay this $150 to that credit card every week, by the end of the month it all evens out if we do our grocery shopping right. That's something new that I've started in June, and so far so good. It's working out really well. We'll see at the end of June if I end up, you know, breaking even, or if I need to pay a little bit extra to that. We'll see, but for now we're just paying $150 to that card every week, and so far so good. That's just how I do it. Maybe it wouldn't work for you, and that's fine. Do what works best for your budget. Alright friends, so that's it for my bills category. I need to grab my phone for my calculator, and I left that in the living room too, so I definitely am going to have to go and run and grab that. I'll be right back to add this up. Okay, so I went and grabbed my phone to use as a calculator, and since I was already in the living room, I went ahead and grabbed my erasable pen from Parkoo to use as my red ink for the week, so we can go ahead and put the Erin Condren one away. I really like to use erasable pens in my budget planner because we're working with numbers, and I'll just be honest, I'm not that great at math, so I make a lot of mistakes, and these Parkoo pens make it super easy to erase and try again. I do have these Parkoo pens linked down below in my description box if you're interested. It's not an affiliate link or anything. I'm not affiliated. Parkoo did at one point send me some pens to try out, but I was using Parkoo pens before they sent them to me, and I don't make any money by telling you guys that these are great. I just want everybody to be able to experience these amazing pens because they're so good. Okay, enough with that. Let's go ahead and pull in my calculator here, and we're going to add up this actual column. So we have 527 plus 6244 plus 3803 plus 40 plus 34 plus 150 for a total of $851.47. So if I take the $872 that I budgeted and I subtract what I actually spent, $851.47, we're left with $20.53. So I'm actually just going to write that number here under this leftover category. That's not how this worksheet was intended to be used. The idea with these worksheets is you write in your income at the top, and then you would subtract all of your bills from that income to get a leftover amount here to move into your next category. But since I don't disclose income here on my channel, I don't use that leftover category, so instead I'm just using it to write down anything that I have left over in the category once I'm done spending for the week. Even though it's not how this was designed and intended, it works for me, so that's what I do. And I know then that I have $20.53 left over that I did not spend. So that's awesome. We'll talk about what we're going to do with that leftover amount later. For now, we're going to move on to cash envelopes. So if you watched my video last week where I did my cash envelope and my sinking fund stuffing, you will know that I put this amount that I budgeted into cash envelopes to be used throughout the week. But just because I set the money aside to be used for these things doesn't mean I actually spent it. So we still have to go down the list of each of these things for my cash envelopes and see what I actually spent. When we get to sinking funds, you will see that what I budgeted was the actual amount that I went ahead and set aside. So those actual totals will match, but when it comes to envelopes, I still track these. I look at what I spent. If I have anything left over, then I decide what to do with that money. So for my husband spending money, I give him $40 at the start of every week, and he just keeps that money. If he has anything left over, he rolls it over into the next week. So what I budgeted is what actually went out of my budget, so that's always as anticipated. For my son Austin, he got $20 in allowance. I did give him that full $20. And for lawn care, I set aside $20 for the gentleman that mows our lawn. However, our lawn didn't need it. So that $20 is still sitting in my wallet. So technically, what I actually spent was nothing. However, I'm going to go ahead and mark it as $20, and I'm just going to leave it in my wallet, and when he comes this week, I'll go ahead and give him that $20. Therefore, I won't have to budget an additional $20 next week. Just makes it easier for me. That money's just going to stay, but since it came out of this paycheck and it's technically spent, even though it's sitting in my wallet, I consider it spent. That's why I'm marking it as $20. Was that confusing? I kind of confused myself. Sorry, you guys, but it is what it is. Okay, next up we have eating out, and for eating out, I do have some stickers to look at. The rest of these are pretty straightforward, but for eating out, we budgeted $40. Going back to my transaction log here, you can see that eating out is marked in this yellow color. And we had a couple of transactions. So on the 3rd, we went to KFC. We got a bucket of chicken for my family. So we spent $32 there. It was actually 31 and change, but I always round up when I'm working with cash, and then I just drop any actual change that I have, any coins, into a jar. I count it as spent, the money goes into a jar, and then we have that change to use for whatever we want. A lot of times my kids will fish in there and pull out quarters to take for running to the store or for an arcade or a vending machine or whatever. So that's that. You will always see that anything that I spend in cash is rounded up to the next dollar. So KFC was $32, and then we went to Tim Hortons on Saturday and spent $10. So we spent a total of $42 in eating out, and we only budgeted $40. So this is the first time my red pen's going to come in, and we're going to go ahead and mark that in. I was $2 over budget for eating out. Wah wah, not what you want to see, but it's only $2. I don't beat myself up over a couple of bucks. Next up, we have miscellaneous here, and for miscellaneous, I budgeted $20. Going back to my transaction log, I track my miscellaneous expenses in this light green color. And we had just one transaction here. As you can see, for miscellaneous, we spent $6. So we are significantly under budget in the miscellaneous category, which helps offset that overage in eating out. It all comes out in the wash. It's all good. So that's it for our cash envelope category. Let's go ahead and add this up. 40 plus 20 plus 20 plus 42 plus 6 is a total of $128. We budgeted $140. We spent $128. And that means that we have $12 in this section left over. Now, I have already taken all of the leftover cash and whatnot to the bank and deposited it, so I cannot show that to you, but rest assured that is exactly what I had left over. I took a couple of dollars from the miscellaneous category to cover that $2 overages and eating out, and still left me with $12 for the week. So we've got $12 left over in our envelope category. We've got $20.53 left over in our bills category. Let's keep going, but we're definitely going to talk about that leftover money when we get to this extra debt category, because yep, you guessed it, that cash is going to go to an extra debt payment. But for now, we'll talk about sinking funds. So the sinking funds are always as budgeted. This is cash that we pull out of our budget. We put it into an envelope for a day in the future when that will get spent. So this is always as anticipated. We did add 50 to campground. We did add 25 to Christmas, 20 to car maintenance, 50 to my husband's sinking fund, 51 to complete our home insurance sinking fund, 20 went to household, 20 went to pets, 50 went to vacation, and that sinking fund total was $286 as anticipated. If we look here at my extra debt, so the way that we tackle debt is we will make all of the minimum payments on our credit cards that have outstanding balances. That amount typically would go under this bills category. We didn't have any minimum payments to make this week. That's why there's none listed. But when they come up throughout the month, I count them as a bill. They get paid in this bills category. But every week, we also like to try to pay extra money to the card that we are targeting. We like to target all of our extra payments at just one card at a time to, really kind of drill into that balance and get it paid off as quickly as possible. So right now we are aiming to pay $150 every single week in extra debt payments, and the card that we are working on is a Walmart card. And so I budgeted $150 to our Walmart card. If we look here on my calendar, I make extra debt payments in this gray color. They get marked on my calendar in gray. And you can see here I did send $150 to Walmart as expected. So that's perfect. Now, that was all that we had planned to pay to an extra debt payment. However, since I came in under budget in both my bills category and my cash envelopes category, I'm going to make an additional extra debt payment this week with that. So the leftover amount that we had in this bills category is $20.53. And the leftover that we had in this cash envelope category was $12. So we're going to add those together. And that comes out to $32.53. I don't know if you guys can see the calculator, but that is what it says here. So we are going to send $32.53 to an extra debt payment to my Walmart card. And that is a payment that I'm going to make as soon as I'm done filming here. That extra $32.53 will go towards this week's total, and that will bring it up to a $182.53 payment to the Walmart card. So that $32.53 is not a whole heck of a lot in the grand scheme of things, but every little bit helps, and I'm really excited that I was able to pay more than the $150 that we had planned. So that's amazing. All right, so that takes care of everything. The only other thing we have here on this page is my rollover amount, which I keep private. We don't talk about my income here. My husband doesn't want to disclose his income. Plain and simple. If he was fine with me sharing it, I would totally share it with you guys, but he doesn't want to, so I respect that. So we don't talk about the income, and therefore we don't talk about the rollover. I do a zero-based budget, so this rollover amount is kind of what we have left after we pay all of our bills, do all of our savings and whatnot, and we roll money over week to week because my husband is paid based on commission, and so his paychecks fluctuate. So I like to have, you know, a sum of money that I always have in the bank so that if his paycheck comes in a little bit lower than, you know, typical, and we have more bills than money that week, it's fine because we have that rollover amount to fall back on. We also do have an emergency fund, and we have lots of credit cards that we have paid off that we still have open. We have chosen to keep our credit cards because we at some point in the future would like to buy a house, and so we need to keep a good credit score. We are not above using those credit cards in an emergency should we need to. Obviously, it's our hope that we don't need to do that. The goal is to have no credit card debt when we go into saving for our future home, but you know, we always have those credit cards to fall back on if we absolutely need to. So with the fluctuations in my husband's pay and then not having a set amount to expect every week, that's how we've chosen to deal with that scenario. Okay, you guys, so really quickly, I'm going to go in and check off all of these amounts that I logged, so I know when I go to sit down next week that all of these have been taken care of and everything went as planned. I'm going to go ahead and stick my paycheck bill tracker for June 1st back in here because this all is set and completed. And now that I've figured that out, I am ready to sit down and film next week's budget, which you will see in an upcoming video. So make sure you subscribe so you can check that out. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye, friends!